What are your key concerns about the fight against corruption in the EU?
I will perhaps start with some context. I mean, over the last 2 decades, corruption has really become a part of agenda, both in terms of what citizens are concerned with, as well as governments, politicians. However, we managed to build institutions, we managed to establish legal framework, but results are not sufficient. It doesn't work always as we would like this to work. It is estimated that an amount of 120 billion euro is being lost annually due to corruption in the European Union. This is really a big challenge, and also when we take into account the people's perception, according to Eurobarometer survey done by European Commission, 3 out of 4 citizens consider corruption to be a major problem in their country. In the times of financial crisis, I think there is also a situation of increasing distrust of governance, of business, of politicians, and the questions of corruption are very much important in tackling the crisis, in tackling and moving toward economic recovery. Also, there is a thin borderline between issues of corruption and the question of how public money is being managed, what type of competition rules are in fact enforced. So corruption does play an important role in basically dealing with the basic economic challenges that we have right now. Political corruption is one of the most difficult aspects to tackle, and the policy statement adopted by the Commission last year has actually stressed the importance of that, and this is very much what actually citizens are concerned with, the unclear, intransparent relations between politics and business, between media. All of that actually has fueled that sense of distrust and anxiety about the direction where we are going. So I think these are really the big challenges that we have. And if I would like to summarize, I mean, what are the key issues? This is first and foremost to have a genuine political will to tackle corruption, to use the instruments that we have at its fullest. It is to come up with tailor-made and problem-focused solutions to corruption. The corruption's difference from a country to country, from a sector to sector. We need to be sensitive to those issues. And what is also extremely important is to have a coordinated efforts coming from society, from business and from government. And certainly public pressure plays an important role. So I think this is the main message that I would like to make.
So 120 billion euros is a huge amount of money. How can the EU ensure a coherent strategy to enforce anti-corruption laws?
Basically, the approach is twofold. I mean, on the one hand, we have to make sure that anti-corruption agenda is part of all sorts of policies, both internally and externally. One specific initiative that we have come up with is the EU anti-corruption report. The idea to every second year to report about the state of anti-corruption efforts across the Union. That would be an instrument to increase trust among member states of the European Union. It would be an instrument to show what works. It's very important to share good practices, but also to shed light on vulnerabilities, on what needs to be improved. The assessment and recommendations of the report should allow everyone, that is politicians, the media, society, business, to push for results and really to see, to make sure that we don't fail. The anti-corruption report will take a problem-driven approach, so it is not like ticking the boxes of whether a specific international instrument is properly transposed into national legal order. That is important, but it's just beginning of an answer. What we need to look into is really to the specific, issues, such as, for example, how public procurement works in practice. It's of particular interest to us because it's a part of EU standards, EU internal market, the way how public procurement is done, and that's clearly an area very much vulnerable for corruption. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We know there is a lot of information coming from existing mechanisms of monitoring the issues of corruption, such as OECD, such as the mechanism of Council of Europe called GRECO and a new mechanism related to review of United Nations Convention Against Corruption. Of course, there is also a lot of information coming from civil society. A good example, of course, is the activity of Transparency International, from business, etc. Our idea is basically to use all those sorts of information and, give to it a certain, to make a wise selection and project them so that actually they can be then pushed through in a debate, in a political debate in member states. It's very important that we will not shy away from sensitive topics such as political corruption or grand-scale corruption. They are fundamental to the credibility of the anti-corruption policy. So that's basically how we want to use that reporting to push for political will to make sure that actually there is a strong focus on results. Secondly, as I have said, it is important to ensure coherence across different policy fields. And, just let me be practical. For example, Commission made recently a proposal for a new public procurement directive, which on the one hand is aimed at cutting the red tape, making things simpler, but at the same time it's important to ensure that there are strong anti-corruption guarantees, such as the use of e-procurement, such as a proper oversight to monitor how these procedures are being implemented. It's not just a question of sticking to the letter of law, but what's really behind. The red flagging system, all of that should help to make public procurement more resistant to the threat of corruption. Another initiative is the proposal for a new European law on confiscation of criminal assets. Again, a very practical tool in making sure that those who profit from corruption are not left alone. Very specific example, a recent initiative of the Commission, disclosure of payments to governments in the energy and forest, in the extractive industry and forestry industry, very much related to the subject of today's conference about bribery, including bribery of foreign officials. So, in a nutshell, in our view, this new approach of the EU anti-corruption policy has a potential to respond more to the concerns of citizens, and actually also a potential to make sure that we are actually moving toward tangible results.
Thank you.